Hello and welcome on the webinar on understanding the SEND process, a guide for parents. I'm going to explain how the process works and the step-by-step approach that's needed. I'm going to talk about the graduated approach, reasonable adjustments and individual support plans, or passport support plans as we call them. I'll then briefly explain the EHCP, Educational Healthcare Plan, the process, when we'd need to apply for it and what we need to do. So the SEND process starts with the assess stage. This is where a parent, carer or teacher recognises there is a need. It could be due to behaviour, communication or just learning cognitive ability. A meeting will be called and discussions will take place between the parent, child, carer and class teacher. Sometimes SEND leader is involved, but usually will support the teacher with advice, training and guidance to actually ensure that the correct provision is provided to meet the child's needs. A plan or passport support plan is put in place. This is agreed by all, and then the class teacher will implement the plan in the classroom, and this is the do part of the cycle. Throughout the do part of the cycle process, the effectiveness of the provision is monitored, bringing us onto the review part. Assess, plan, do, review is known as one cycle. When you've gone all the way through the cycle, you start again with assessing what the needs are, whether the provision needs to be changed, and then the cycle will start again. It usually takes about a term to go through a cycle. So we start with our initial concerns. Like I said, the parent, a teacher, has concerns over a child not meeting expectations. And so there is then a meeting. And the SEND leader is involved sometimes if it's a more complicated situation, but the SEND leader does provide support and advice and strategies to support the child and ensure the correct provision is in place. At the meeting, we put together a passport support plan, and this plan will have agreed targets, usually 3 targets, and they need to be SMART targets, so specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and time-bound. The interventions, provision, reasonable adjustments are then implemented. It takes at least 6 to 8 weeks to be able to tell if an intervention or provision has had an impact. We need to give it time to work. The passport support plan is a live document, and I said it has targets on there that are SMART for a child. These targets are discussed and agreed by everyone, the teacher, child and parent carers, and then how we are going to achieve these targets, the provision that we need to put in needs to be reasonable and practical. There is first quality teaching, and this includes everything that is ordinarily available. These would be such things as adapting the environment where someone sits, lights, whiteboard backgrounds, also knowing individual children's needs and adapting teaching styles, maybe processing time or pre-teaching. There's also using a visual or written scaffolding, technology, paired and group work. After this comes targeted support and reasonable adjustments, and these are more specific interventions to support. It could be something like speech and language, communication needs bespoke to the child. It could be support in memory processing, emotional regulation support, an intervention such as zones of regulation, or it may be meeting a sensory need, having sensory breaks, wobble cushions, fidget toys, or something like if you had a hearing impairment, hearing devices. Depending on the need, the best vision is then put in place and monitored. So as I said, we go through the whole cycle, and we have to have at least 2 rounds of the assess, plan, do, review cycle. But if we do that and there is little impact, say your child is unable to make any academic progress or is dysregulated and cannot cope with the classroom setting, so there's a barrier to learning that is having an impact so great that learning is not taking place. It is then at this stage that we could refer to an external agency for extra support or guidance. Must give the provision a chance to have an impact, and referrals will not be accepted until we have shown we have tried everything we can and it is shown that it's not having any impact and the child is not progressing. We would look at the best external provision for your child's needs and then make a referral. If we have lots of evidence of support and we can show how much we have tried, as well as meeting the threshold and criteria, a referral is usually accepted. So we've done our 2 cycles, we've referred to external agencies, we've implemented their advice and guidance, and yet we still are having problems and the child is still not making the progress educationally and has a need that cannot be met. It is at this stage that, despite all this intensive support, that we could apply for an EHCP, an Educational Healthcare Plan. And this is a form that is completed in collaboration between parent, carer and SEN leader. And you send the form, and what you're doing is you're requesting an educational health care needs assessment. It will go to a panel of experts and they would decide on needs and evidence whether an assessment takes place or not. So you've put in your request for an EHCP assessment, and as I said, it goes to panel and decide whether the educational healthcare need assessment goes ahead or not, and then they will decide after the assessment whether a plan is needed or not. Once a plan is agreed, it's issued by county and then it is reviewed annually. So you can see here we have timeframes where things have to be completed, but there are a number of stages where it may not be accepted. So you have your first stage where you first put in your EHCP application. They may say, though, there's not a need that needs one. They may give you further advice of guidance of what to do to support first. And then if they decide they're going to do a needs assessment, they may do the needs assessment. And this could be someone from speech and language. It could be an EP. It could be special advisory teachers. They will assess and give their advice, a professional opinion, and they again decide whether an EHCP should be issued or not. And if it is issued, then it comes through to the school, and it is a legal document that we do need to follow. I think the most important thing to remember with SEND is that we need to work collaboratively. It needs to be between the child, the school, parent carers and external agencies. We all want the best thing for the child, and we all want the child to do the best that they can. If you want further information, there are a couple of documents on our website. There's the SEND information report and the SEND policy, and also the Hertfordshire Quality SEND offer. Of course, you can get in contact with me anytime, either email or phone the office and they'll put me through. I'm happy to discuss anything if you'd like further information or support. Thank you.